This week we are going to be doing our guided reading story called The Baseball Game. Please see if you have this story so that you can read along with me. Make sure you are practicing this story even after we read together. Go back and try it. Find some words that you know. Read to somebody at your house. Have somebody at your house read to you. You should have one other story to practice. Some people have Our Class, and some people have Always Learning. These are stories for you to be working on your own at home. Somebody can help you, that's fine, and read along with you, but you should be practicing both stories this week for guided reading. Okay, so the baseball game. When we first start off, we think about the title. And this is an easy one because the title is The Baseball Game, and I think it's going to be about a baseball game. The picture also gives us a clue. We see somebody wearing a uniform for a team. We see some of the equipment in the baseball game, the glove for catching the ball, the bat for hitting the ball. We see where they are. They are in a stadium. There's lots of people watching the game. We can see the field there and the base for standing on. So we get some good clues about this story by listening to the title, the name of the story, and by looking at the picture on the front. We can also see the author. This book is written by Maria Griffin, and the illustrator, the person who drew the pictures, is Susan Lexa. Mom loves baseball. She tells me stories about games she saw when she was my age. We always play baseball in the park. Mom pitches the ball to me, and I try to hit it with my bat. So now we know our characters. We have the mom and the person who's telling this story. We think that this is a younger person, a child, because they talk about being when mom was younger and being a kid. We also have the word baseball. Baseball is a two-part word. Base is a word. Ball is a word. So it's a compound word. Those are words by themselves. And when we put it together, we get baseball. This word, pitches, we might not be too sure of. So maybe if you are somebody who doesn't play baseball or has never seen a baseball game, you might not know what that is. But when we go back and read it again, it says, Mom pitches the ball to me and I try to hit it with my bat. Then we look at the picture, we see the mom's throwing the ball and the child's going to hit it. So pitch must be the word for throw the ball. Last week, Mom and I went to the baseball game. We wore our baseball caps and our red and yellow shirts. I took my baseball mitt so I could try to catch a ball. When we think about the words and look at the picture there of what they are wearing, if they're wearing matching clothes and they like those colors, we might think to ourselves, well, maybe that's the colors of their favorite team that they're going to watch. Mom and I took the bus to the game. When we got there, I gave our tickets to the man at the gate. We had to climb lots of steps to get to our seats. From there, I could see that the field was shaped like a diamond. So look at the picture and think about the shapes that we know. The shape of the diamond is here where you stand and where home plate is, then first base, second base, third base, and back to home plate. When you outline it, it is the shape of a diamond. We stood up to sing before the game. All the players lined up in a row. They held their hats over their hearts. The flag waved in the breeze as we sang. So like we do the flag salute and the Pledge of Allegiance, we stand up, we put our hand over our heart. The same thing happens at the beginning of the game. The home team ran out on the field, and the other team got ready to bat. Once the umpire shouted, "Play ball," the game started. So look again at the colors that they are wearing. The red and yellow matches the colors that they talked about wearing before for their favorite team, for the team that they are cheering for. I watched different players catch and throw and hit the ball. Then someone near us yelled, "Peanuts, peanuts." I was hungry, so Mom bought some. There were enough peanuts in the bag for us to share. Soon it was our team's turn to bat. My favorite player walked up to home plate. He swung the bat, but the ball whizzed by him. "Strike one," yelled the umpire. Again, the player held his bat high. Crack! This time he hit the ball and it went flying through the air. I watched it come closer and closer. I held up my mitt. Crunch! I looked down at my mitt, but it was empty. Then Mom pointed to the bag of peanuts. The ball was sitting right on top. Now when I look at that ball, I still feel happy. I will never forget our day at the game. Okay, so it shows us again to look at some parts of the story and talk about how they tell us different things about the story. All right, so I'm going to just turn back one page to the page we just looked at. And I'm going to look at these two words here, crack and crunch. When you and I look at those words, we see that they are all capital letters. And we know that's not really the way we are supposed to write our words. We're supposed to start a sentence with just one capital letter, and special words like names or special places or special days get a capital letter. But again, just one capital letter. These have all capital letters for that word. So that is a text feature, a part of our story that teaches us something about the story. So over here, when we look at our chart, text feature, I'm going to write down capital letters. And actually, I'm going to add this word, all capital letters. So when we see a word written in all capital letters in our story, it tells us that we should read that word maybe a little bit louder, maybe with some feeling. So when I look at that word again and I see it, I'm going to say crack and crunch. Okay, so that the person who's listening to the story or myself who is reading the story can think about, what would that sound like if I was there? When the bat hits the ball, would it sound like crack? When the ball lands in a bag of peanuts, would it sound like crunch? So it gives us some ideas and tells us to use some feeling in our reading. So when we see all capital letters in our story, what is the purpose? What is the job of those all capital letters? Well, it gives the reader, so that's the person reading the story, feelings about the story. So it adds some excitement to the story, and it gives me some feelings when I'm reading this story. I think to myself, wow, that's what it would sound like, or that's how loud it would be, or that's how exciting it was. So those things give the reader some feelings about the story. All right. The other thing that we are going to look at is we're going to go back to this picture here, and it says, I could see, that the field was shaped like a diamond. And if I was just reading that and I didn't have a picture, I might wonder, What are they talking about, a diamond? Maybe I've never been to a baseball game. Maybe I don't know that much about baseball. So when I look at this picture, like I showed you before, and I can see the diamond shape there, made with the bases that the players stand on or run from base to base. So the picture helps me understand what's happening in the story. So my next text feature is going to be the picture. And what does the picture do? What's the picture's job? Helps the reader understand the words. Okay. So that word diamond is a good describing word. It tells me the shape of the field, but the picture also helps me see it. I think to myself, oh yeah, that's what they mean, because I'm not at a baseball game right now. I'm sitting in my house reading a story, and the picture gives me a clue and it helps me understand what that means. So once again, when we look at the different parts of our story, whether it's the title or the words or the pictures, or maybe sometimes there's other things like maps or headings, or some stories even have graphs in them that we've learned about in math. And all those things have jobs, have purposes that help us as readers. So it's important that we look at all parts of our story when we are reading our story. Okay, there's also things in the back of all of your books. It tells you the words that we're practicing for reading this week. It gives you some questions that you can talk about with somebody at your house, some things that you can do to help you be a better reader. So remember, if you want to practice the story again with me, just play the video again and read along with me, or listen and look at the words while I read again. You should also be practicing your other story. Maybe you have Always Learning, maybe you have Our Class, and you can do the same thing. You can talk about the parts of the story and how they help the reader or what they do for the reader. So practice your stories each day. You can read on your own. You can read to someone else. Get out some of your old stories from before and practice reading them again. The more you read, the better readers you will be.